Warning: the information in this video is for educational purposes only. Never consume any wild plant without positive identification. Proceed at your own risk. Hi guys, welcome back to my series on the wild edible and medicinal plants of the Southeastern United States. Today we will be talking about pine trees. There are about 125 different species of pine in the Pinus genus. Pine trees are evergreen, coniferous, resinous trees. The leaves of adult pine trees are needles, bundled in fascicles. The needles can number from 1 to 7 per fascicle, but average between 2 to 5. The bark of most pines are thick and scaly, though some have thin, flaky bark. Pine trees generally, with some exceptions, have both male and female cones on the same tree. Male cones are small, typically about an inch long, and only present for a short period of time. They start out green and turn yellow when they begin to drop pollen. The male cones then fall from the tree after they have shed their pollen. The female cones are woody, with spiked scales to protect the developing seeds. Each cone has spirally arranged scales, with 2 seeds on each fertile scale. The scales at the base and tip are small and sterile without seeds. Female cones can take up to 3 years to mature after pollination. At maturity, most cones open to release the seeds. The seeds are mostly small and winged and dispersed by wind. The pines in the west to southwest United States typically have larger seeds and are dispersed by birds. White bark pine, for example, can only release its seeds after birds break open its cones. Some species of pine only release their seeds when environmental cues trigger the opening of the cone. Pitch pine, for example, will only release its seeds after a forest fire melts the resin, keeping the cone closed. Pines are native to most of the northern hemisphere, and in a few parts of the tropics in the southern hemisphere. Pines may be found in an extremely diverse variety of environments, ranging from semi-arid deserts to rainforests, from sea level up to 17,000 foot, from the frozen Arctic Circle to the blistering equator. In the United States, Kansas is the only state without a native pine, though cultivated and escape cultivated pines can still be found. Pines grow well in acidic, well-drained sandy soils, but a few can tolerate poorly drained wet soils. Slash pine, for example, grows well in the swampy areas of the southeastern United States. Historically, pine trees have had numerous uses ranging from lumber to food, medicine, and glue. All pines have seeds called pine nuts that can be harvested for food. The pinyon pines of the southwestern U.S. have the largest pine nuts, which you can find in supermarkets. Here in the southeast, the longleaf and loblolly pines have the largest pine nuts of the region, which can be harvested in the fall by collecting pine cones that have turned from green to gray but have not yet opened. Setting the unopened cones near a fire or a heat source in a pan will cause them to open, releasing the seeds. The seeds can be eaten raw or roasted, or used to make nut flour, used in baking. The soft white inner bark, called the cambium, just beneath the scaly outer bark, is edible and very high in vitamins A and C. It can be eaten raw or dried and ground into a powder for use as an inferior flour, used to make bark bread or to thicken soups and stews. White pines, Pinus strobus of the northern U.S., have the best tasting inner bark. The inner bark of the yellow pines in the southeast is best left as a famine food. The Adirondack Mountains get their name from the Mohican word Adirondack, which translates to those who eat trees, which was a derogatory term used to describe other tribes, usually Algonquins, who didn't practice agriculture, and therefore sometimes had to resort to eating pine bark in order to survive. A tea high in vitamin C and A can be made by steeping young green pine needles in hot, not boiling water, as boiling water will break down the vitamin C. Pine resin was used medicinally. It can be made into a drawing salve to be applied to splinters, or an ointment which was applied to burns and abrasions for its antibacterial and antifungal properties. The Costanoan Indians would chew the resin like a gum for its anti-inflammatory properties to help with joint inflammation caused by rheumatism. Pine resin could also be melted down and mixed with ground charcoal and a binder to make pitch glue, which is used to attach stone points to arrow shafts. Pine wood found in old stumps or at the base of dead limbs, often referred to as fat wood, can be saturated with so much resin that it will readily take a spark and burn long and hot even in moist conditions. It is often used as a fire starter. Pine pollen, which drops from the male cones, has been found in medicines that are thousands of years old. Pine pollen is almost bioidentical to human male hormones and are able to promote the body's own production of testosterone. It is used today as a supplement to raise testosterone and fight fatigue. Native Americans would sometimes carry a small bag of pine pollen to eat before battles or during long trips to get them over the next hill. Pine pollen can be collected in the early spring and used as a flower extender, eaten raw, or used in teas and tinctures. From food and medicine to glue and fire starters, pine is a useful wild edible and medicinal to have in your toolbox. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. If you find this kind of information useful, hit that like and subscribe button to help me continue making content. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.